Everybody want to welcome Heather Silvio. Heather, I don't even know where to start. And you have to get really cozy with that microphone. You know how this works.
I'm good. I was just leaning back because I knew you'd talk for a while.
So we'll see you next week. I was so intimidated. Now, this doesn't happen often. I had seen enough of Heather's biography or her antics on Facebook to already be intimidated.
I have antics?
She has. She is, okay, she does so many things. Writer, actress, astronaut. Like right away. Who's on that list? Anybody got that on the resume? Anybody all three of those things?
I am not an astronaut.
Well, tell me about your astronaut thing, though.
Well, I did Space Academy when I was a teenager, and I still have the flight suit, by the way.
Well, tell me about that.
I decided I wanted to go, so I looked into it and talked with my parents, and they sent me to Space Academy.
Now, I said Space Camp before the show, and I got slapped for my trouble. It's Space Academy.
There's a distinction. There's a Space
Camp was that
and
movie
a Space
that
Academy.
Okay.
There's both.
Okay.
Space Camp is for the younger kids, and that's where they do more games and stuff. But Space Academy, you actually get a book and you have homework and
okay, but in either one, do you actually get to go to space?
Oh, I wish.
How old are you, by the way?
I'm 36.
How old? So, at what point in your adulthood did space re-enter your personal space?
Actually, as soon as I graduated from college, I was interested in doing it, and then downloaded the application to be an astronaut and discovered that my vision disqualified me.
What's wrong with your vision?
I'm blind as a bat.
We could have a contest, I think. I'm certain I would win. So, yeah, so obviously you have to have perfect vision.
Well, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be pretty close to that. So I sort of tabled that. And then a couple years ago, well, actually I guess about a year ago, and I saw that they were getting ready to open up the astronaut applications again for the first time in 3 or 4 years. So I thought, maybe they changed their vision requirements. And it turned out they did.
There's a nearsighted exemption now?
No, now they allow for you to wear contacts. So
Okay.
as long as your contacts correct your vision to 20/20, you qualify. So I sent in my application, and I would hear something by the end of the summer.
Oh, so that's still an active application.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're Air Force or former Air Force, or how does that work? I don't want to. Semper Fi, hoo-ah, I don't know, shit. All these things scare me. So, at one point, you were in the Air Force.
No.
Shit.
But not a bad guess.
You said Air Force. You were all you sat in this chair.
I said active duty, working for the Air Force. Which I get how someone who isn't familiar with the breakdown of the services would assume that meant I was active duty Air Force.
You can cut the patronizing with a knife at this point.
I was in a service called the United States Public Health Service. It's an all-officer corps. Only about 6,000 officers.
You were an officer in the United States Public Health Corps.
Health Service.
Health Service, yes. Which is a...
It's a uniformed but non-military service.
So you don't get a gun or...
No. But I got a uniform, and people saluted me.
She likes the flight suit, the uniform.
I like to play dress-up.
What was this career like in your non-military military?
Well, it was.
This is me refusing to learn.
It was.
You gave a description, but I wasn't paying it.
No, that's fun. I was on Shepherd Air Force Base for 3 years.
So that's what brought you to the Wichita Falls area.
Yes.
Was your service
Yes.
in this non-military military?
Yeah. So I started off as a staff psychologist, and then over the course of my 3 years, I was the director of one program and the chief of the mental health service for a while as well.
Now, this is wartime, right? Were you dealing with any pilots that were in combat?
Like post-traumatic stress?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
What was that like?
Shepherd Air Force Base is a training base. So I would say at least 50% of my caseload at any given time consisted of 18 to 25-year-olds. This was their first real time away from home, and they were having separation anxiety, that sort of thing. But the other 50% consisted of what we call permanent party, folks who have already gone through training. Some of them have deployed before. And so it would be among that group that I would work with folks who who developed symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. And it was
people that were in like Afghanistan or in the Iraq theater.
Absolutely.
And they came back. I went to the flight dock at Shepherd.
Did you?
Yeah, see?
I wasn't aware of that.
That's more confusing than her story. You've written some books.
Yes.
And what kind of books are these?
So I published my first book in 2002. It is a murder mystery called Courting Death.
Courting Death. What's it about?
Me.
Murder mystery, Courting Death. What's it about?
It's more of a psychological thriller. It has to do with a serial killer and how this particular person sort of ends up on that path, and the person who is more or less in her sights.
Oh, so you wrote Dexter before there was Dexter.
Yes.
Are you trying to attain a certain thing in
No.
life?
No. Not at all. I have sort of two coexisting goals in life. One is to hopefully leave the world a better place.
I think my graduation
before I
speech
go.
told you what the chances are of that happening. Next.
Well, the optimist in me says... And then the other side of it is to have fun. I don't want to get to the end of my life and have regrets for things that I didn't try to do.
You know, I see you as a hugely accomplished person. You've done more in your 36 years than most people ever even try to do. But I don't think you see it that way.
No. But
Now,
thank you.
But are you satisfied? Or do you
Oh,
are
yeah.
you on the other side of that coin? Are you frustrated or let down or
No, not at all. I'm not by nature a competitive person. If
you're not competitive?
I'm not, and people seem to think I am.
I think.
Tell me why. Why do you think I'm competitive?
Well, you busted my balls about 4 seconds after getting up here on
Oh,
on the
teasing?
set.
Oh, come on! Don't be that sensitive.
See now she see. I think
Is that
you.
being competitive? Thank you. The audience is agreeing
Oh
with me.
man, but look one of them was my wife. Let's get real.
As long as I'm enjoying what I'm doing, any kind of quote unquote success, as other people define it, is sort of like icing on the cake. I did an internship with David Letterman when I was in college.
What?
Yeah.
Well, thanks for burying the lead.
Oh.
Did Dave hit on you?
Sorry. No, he almost ran me over in his car, though.
Well, that's
That
one
was-
kind of
that
hitting
was
on
kind
you.
of fun. No, he was really nice. He was actually really shy, which I don't think a lot of people would necessarily assume that. Now, keep in mind, this also was 16 years ago, so he could be very, very different now. But when I met, he was very nice, very professional. But he ran a stop sign and a stoplight and almost ran me over.
Is my show better?
Than Letterman? Of course, Lee, because I'm your guest. I met a bunch of celebrities, of course, while I was there.
She's
All right.
not even paying attention to her own life.
I take 1,000 pictures of everything for exactly that purpose because
you don't
I'm
pay
not
attention.
good at it. No, I'm not.
So you're a writer, but you don't write about yourself.
No. Although, interestingly...
I could teach you how to be that.
No.
How to be that
Interestingly,
self-centered.
after I published my first book, again, about a serial killer, one of my friends read it and then said, I feel like I know you so much better now that I've read this.
Whoa.
I'm like, which character did you think was me? Because there's not really anybody in the book
There's.
that I would necessarily hold up as a model for anything.
Well, who'd you meet
Odd for
Who'd you
me.
meet on Letterman?
Probably the most famous person was David Duchovny during the height of his X-Files fame.
Oh well, yeah.
Your wife is now about to kill me, I think,
Yeah,
from
well,
that.
she gets a little this way about David Duchovny.
He is, well, I don't know who all will see this, unbelievably hot in person. and they gave me permission to go by and say hello. So I go in, I knock on the door, and there's a guy lying on the floor.
Was it an alien?
Yes. Can I tell the story?
Was it one of the black oil guys?
The audience would like me to tell the story. Oh, are you going to sulk? Don't sulk.
Oh.
No, so I go in the door, and there's a guy lying on the floor with his head sort of towards the door, with his feet, like, propped up on the couch. And I'm kind of confused. And I was like, hello, I'm looking for Mr. Duchovny. And he kind of looks around. He's like, oh, yeah, that's me, and gets up. And so I introduced myself.
Was he just, like, aligning his chakras or some shit like that?
I'll be honest, I did not ask. Yeah. So I introduced myself, shook hands with him. And he's like, do you want to come in and talk? And I was like, yes. So sat down. He talked with me for 30 minutes.
What?
And at one point, I saw the segment producer go by, and she got this look like, what are you doing in there talking? Kind of look. But I ignored her, so I kept talking, and later went out, and she was like, what did you think you were doing? I was like, he invited me in. He said I could talk to him.
Any other major celebrities?
I've met Christian Slater twice.
Well.
Well, I was not living in New York City at that time, but I had heard that he was doing a Broadway show called Sideman. And I decided that I wanted to fly up there to see it because I was going to meet Christians later. I called a friend of mine, and she lived in another city than I did. We met at a Stephen King convention. I've met him, too. He's also really nice. And I said, let's go find where the theater is so we'll know where to go tomorrow for the show. So we wander over there, and we find it, and I see this little side alley, and I'm like, I'll bet that'll take us to the back of the theater. And I was like, let's go back. Let's see what's back there. So we're walking back, and there's I don't know if he's a security guard exactly, but somebody who's supposed to, like, keep people like me from just wandering in. So I told her, I said, no, we walk like we know where we're going. Just walked right in, and the guy was like, where are you going? I said, oh, we're here to see Christian. And he's like, okay, so walked on in. Out comes Christian Slater. I was like, sweet. So I had a lovely chat with him. He was very nice. He said it was his first Broadway show, and he was talking about being a little bit nervous about it. So my fabulous advice, I said, just don't throw up on anybody, and you're fine.
Oh. They told me that before I got in the airplane.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't know you then. So it was great. Talked to him for a little bit, got some pictures.
Okay, so you seem to have a really valuable skill that goes beyond your desires. Or you're able to make these things happen. Yeah. Everybody wants to be an internal letterman. Everybody wants to just bullshit their way past Hollywood security, and you actually make these things happen. Now, you're a life coach as well.
So now, I can help you.
But how do you take what is clearly an innate skill? This is genetic. How do you take that and in any way transfer it to someone else? What have you got that I can have?
Well, part of what it is, I think, is just, this is going to sound really self-serving, but the inspiration.
Well, that'd be the first time that happened on this set.
The inspiration that it seems like I seem to be able to provide to other people just by talking about the things that I've done. Like when I moved into my apartment in New York City, the woman who owned the apartment, who was renting it to me, we spent some time chatting, and I told her about some of the stuff I'd done, and she later emailed me, and she's like, you have inspired me to finish writing my play, which she did, and then presented it, like had a read-through of it in New York City, and just, so I seem to hear that from people a lot, is that after just talking with them, they contact me, or they'll be like, yeah, just talking to you made me feel like I could do it.
Well, you're pretty damn legit.
I did. So in that sense, it's not necessarily a skill set. I think a lot of people just lack confidence and the ability to look past the fear that they can't do it. I don't have fear that I can't do something. I may fail. I fail at lots of things, but I will always try.
You did some extra work?
So, yeah, when I was living in New York City, I was an extra on several episodes of the original Law & Order and Law & Order Criminal Intent as well.
What episode numbers? What season? What number?
If you go to IMDb, I have a website, or I have a page on there. I can leave you with something fun. Okay. I applied to be a special agent with the FBI and got offered a position at Quantico. I turned them down.
You turned down Quantico.
Yeah. I know.
As a non-professional psychologist, I think it's really unusual to have these opportunities and this ability to bring these opportunities to fruition, and then to not continue on them. You turned down Quantico. You broke in to some extent in the acting culture in New York. What is it about you that then says, okay, I'm good there?
I just think that I decide that something else catches my eye, and I don't want to miss out on doing that.
Well, a round of applause for Heather, our last official interview guest in our garage version of Libby's Garage.
And I'm so glad.